So we start by um, bringing ourselves into this space, into this time that we've set aside for our meditation, and dropping, whatever we were doing before, and uh, coming here to really meditate on these sufferings of these happier realms. Um, and suffering is just all around us, and I'm currently visiting my family and my relatives in various places across the country. And I moved away when I was in my 20s, so I haven't lived with them for a long time, but I go visit, and it's always interesting to see the suffering that we have on uh, with our friends and our family. There's all this striving, there's this clinging, there's this yearning, there's this underlying dissatisfaction. Um, some of it's, health related, some of it's, mental and self-created. But there's no one that you meet that's not going through something that is not just right, something that is just pulling underneath the surface and causing irritation, causing suffering. So it's all around us. There's no one not affected. So we can easily use that. Um, and we all have these situations, and especially with family. And we can use that as our motivation, right? It's we can think, I'm going to I'm going to meditate. I want to become liberated, not just for myself, but for all of these suffering people around me, for all the people, but also the animals. As I travel, I also see, dead animals along the side of the road. They're just crossing the road and they don't make it. So the suffering, it really is everywhere. It's not here or there or isolated. It's pervasive. So may I develop my mind. May I overcome this suffering, overcome my own delusions, become enlightened so that I can lead others to enlightenment. May this be our motivation. So in today's meditation, we're looking at the sufferings of the Asuras. And next week we have the suffering of samsara, and then we move on through the Lamrim. But today, when we look at the sufferings of the Asuras, well, what are these? What are these Asuras? So they have um, special characteristics, um, and their special characteristic is they're always jealous. I think we can all relate to jealousy. We all had that moment, maybe more than once. So to have jealousy in one's mind, um, it stops one from being happy. Because jealousy is an attitude of being unable to bear the advantages um, and the fine possessions of others. It's interesting. So it's all outward. It's not our possession. It's not our advantages. It's others, right? Thus, if we're jealous, every time we see someone else living well, or maybe they have fine clothing, um, much better than ours, then we create our own suffering. And in addition, being jealous, being jealous of what others have, uh, brings this kind of energy of hate. So then we start disliking the other person that has something that we're jealous about. And and when this occurs, it's kind of like a train. It's like you follow it. It doesn't just pop up and dissipate. No, it's kind of like pulling. It's pulling you along this train of thought of jealousy. And it's like a dog that follows its owner, where we're following this train of jealousy. And we can also compare jealousy to a snake. It's always moving about. It's trying to harm other beings. So it's real sneaky. So the Asuras, um, their minds are permeated with this jealousy. They live, uh, they so they live within the sight of the God realm, so they can see the gods, and the gods are superior to the Asuras. And as a consequence, they suffer immensely because they see the gods. They're very, very jealous. They're jealous of the wealth, of uh, the good qualities of their being, and so this stirs things up, and it makes them feel impelled to fight against the gods. And they have no chance to defeat a god. So it's kind of already a predestined loss. And then they experience additional suffering on top of that because they're beaten in the battle. the gods. But the Asuras, they're very intelligent, they're clever, but this pervading jealousy that they are kind of imbued with, um, it kind of it overrides or impairs the intelligence. It makes the intelligence quite useless, um, especially that they don't use the intelligence for Dharma practice. So this is important to recognize, to understand that the existence of an asura, it's an unsatisfactory existence. So we need to make the wish or aspiration to not be born as one of these asuras, but direct our mind towards full liberation. So not to be fooled. So those are the asuras, and next we look at these gods that are in the desire realm. They also have suffering. So they live in this divine state, but um, it is very pleasant, but it's not everlasting bliss. And to attain the state of a god in a desire realm, um, the mere wish is not sufficient. One must accumulate many wholesome actions, create merit, and dedicate the merit towards being born in such a pleasant place. And it's good if we do that, but it's a bit of a mistake at the same time, right? So, and instead, we should actually dedicate our merit towards the attainment of liberation. So we'll go beyond the desirous state. But anyway, what is it? What is this desire realm where these gods are wandering? So it is the result of positive action. It um, it allows for certain temporary happiness, but you can't remain in this state for as long as you wish because it is conditioned by your karma. And as soon as the power of the positive karma, as soon as it's exhausted, it's extinguished, then you have to die. And it's like being a bird who can fly very high in the sky, but eventually has to come down when the strength runs out. So these gods, they don't age in the same way we do. Um, but still, when they come close to death, they show particular signs of aging, not as significant or gross as our human aging. Uh, Normally, they have a divine appearance, and their bodies are shining with light, and they are um, dressed with uh, garlands of flowers and jewels and things like this. And the place where they live is very comfortable. And everyone they see is beautiful and delightful. But when the death approaches, then everything and everyone they see is beautiful. Then this stops, and they become nervous, they become restless, they become unable to stop in one place. I think it's described as a similar feeling when we have um, this lung, or this wind disorder. So when we don't feel well, then when we stay in our room, we don't feel well. When we go on a walk, it uh, also doesn't help. It doesn't matter where we are, we're still suffering from this disorder. So these gods and their their flowers, that their flower garlands that they're wearing, they start to wither. The body loses its radiance. And there's other signs that their positive karma is going to be extinguished. So their appearance gradually deteriorates. And when these signs occur, they understand that they are about to die and separate from their uh, pleasant existence. And it makes them frightful, makes them agitated. And they can foresee their time of death. They have uh, some visions of clairvoyance of the next rebirth that awaits them. And this clairvoyance is of no benefit, um, but it actually increases their fear. So they can see all the merits that are exhausted, the positive merits, and the the remainder is this past bad action, and it has to ripen and throw them uh, into a suffering realm. So they're kind of like in this um, situation of someone that is forced to immigrate to another country and whose money has been lost and runs out and they have hard times that are ahead of them. So knowing this, we need to avoid wishing for the delight of a rebirth in a God realm. Because on one hand, yes, it does bring more pleasure than our current situation, but in the end, it just brings more suffering. So then maybe we think since that's the case, then the form and the formless realm, um, one does not experience these signs of death and is not afflicted by the uh, problems that do arise at the end of being in the God desire realm. So maybe we want to be born as in the formless realms. Maybe that's better, huh? But even in this realm, it also has to be abandoned, and it creates an obstruction for the mind to desire liberation. So while it is true that the form of formless realms are they're free of this gross suffering. So one is um, reborn in them as a result of the practice of concentration, concentration with the necessary dedication. So one then dwells in this uh, concentration for an extremely long time and they experience happiness. But when the positive karma is exhausted, then the life must cease. And then it's very likely that the result is rebirth in a lower state. So we have to become aware that this is also not a state, a realm to rest in. And we have to dedicate all of our energy, all of our merits into actions that are lead to attaining liberation. So we have this this current state of samsara that's unsatisfactory. We have the various other happier realms that are unsatisfactory. The life of an Asura is also unsatisfactory. Lots of clinging and jealousy. We have the gods in the desire realm that have a very pleasant existence, but it doesn't last forever. So it's uh, ultimately unsatisfactory. We have the form of formless realm that virtually has no gross suffering, so very pleasant, but it also doesn't last. Uh, the positive merit's burned up, then there's dissatisfaction waiting around the corner. So it goes without saying that liberation, complete and full enlightenment, is is the state that is lasting, that we should aspire toward, and not get distracted or deluded along the way. So taking all of these contemplations of the suffering, all the temporary suffering, all the temporary happinesses in all of these realms, we can we can make dedicate the merits that we've created during this meditation, that they're not lost and they're dedicated towards a good cause. The creating the cause that all of us meditating, all of our friends, all of our family, all of the sentient beings in this universe that we can see and that we cannot see, may they not suffer through any of these realms, and may they find liberation, be led to liberation as quickly as possible. Thank you, everyone.